Thank you. Mr. Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm most grateful. Can I apologise to honourable and right honourable members? Given the time constraints, I'll not extend the usual courtesy of taking interventions. Mr. Speaker, I'm particularly pleased to be participating in this debate because today we can start to bring an end to the chaos. Parliament has taken back control because this Tory government, this Prime Minister, is out of control. Mr. Speaker, Scotland did not ask for this crisis. Nobody asked for this chaos. And of course, Scotland voted to remain in the European Union. We voted overwhelmingly to protect our economy and the freedoms and the values that the European Union give to the people of Scotland. Scotland is a European country. Historically, we have been a European country. Economically, socially, culturally, we benefit from our membership. Today, the SNP laid a motion to ensure that Scotland's voice is heard, because Scotland's wishes have been completely ignored during the Brexit process. This is in stark contrast to the European Union that seeks consensus and fosters collaboration through its institutions and throughout the community. A partnership of equals, in stark contrast to this place where there is no equality of respect for the devolved institutions. The lack of appreciation of how the UK should work post-devolution will, Mr. Speaker, haunt this place. Increasingly, those living in Scotland will reflect on the way that we are treated in this union, the United Kingdom. It is most certainly not the partnership of equals that the Prime Minister had promised us. It is one where we are told quite simply that our votes don't count, where we can be stripped of our European citizenship, and for what? Where we will pay a price economically, socially and culturally. The facts are clear. Brexit will rob Scotland of jobs. It will rob our economy of talented workers, our public sector's needs. It will steal opportunities to travel and learn from our EU partners and for future generations. It will divide relationships, families and friendships. Mr. Speaker, there is no such thing as a good Brexit, and it must be stopped. We must act to protect the interests of our citizens, of our communities and of our nations. Today it is the opportunity, perhaps the only opportunity. Mr. Speaker, today in the European Parliament, my friend and colleague Alan Smith MEP asked Europe to keep a light on for Scotland, to show us the way home. I want the EU to keep a light on for Scotland. For members of Parliament, we must decide, can we follow that light, or is the United Kingdom heading into the darkness? Scotland will not follow the UK into that darkness if the UK fails to change course. We can and we will follow the light to allow Scotland to become an independent country in the European Union. Mr. Speaker, I want to make it clear that tonight the Scottish National Party will vote for our preferred options on the order paper. We will vote for a second EU referendum. And we will vote for motions to revoke Article 50, as revocation may be our only option to get out of this mess. These options must remain on the table. The Scottish Parliament votes today to endorse revoke in the event of a no deal. We expect that to be backed on a cross-party basis, and friends and colleagues, let me say, that includes the Labour Party. Revoke must be an option. Therefore, I ask that members also support motion L, tabled in the name of my honourable and learned friend for Edinburgh South. However, let me speak specifically to some of the other motions before us today. We on these benches would firstly like to seek some clarity from the main opposition in terms of their motion. For Scotland, freedom of movement without any caveats is essential, not just in principle, but for the sake of the prosperity of our nation. Can the Labour frontbench confirm to members of this House that their motion today protects and continues the policy of freedom of movement in full? Turning to the motion in the name of the member for Grantham and Stamford, let me be very clear. We on these benches do not and will not endorse the Prime Minister's withdrawal agreement. The agreement bill requires the consent of the Scottish Parliament, and the UK Government have already broken that process. The people of Scotland voted to remain, and as I noted in my earlier remarks on the amendment in the name of the Leader of the Opposition, for the SNP, freedom of movement is essential. Our nation's future, our public services, depend on it. We must have total confidence that in any way that the Norway Plus proposal, freedom of movement as we currently benefit from, will be continued, and that we will have access to the single market and the customs union in full. We also have a further question regarding his proposal for customs arrangement and the prospect of alternative arrangements to ensure frictionless trade. Now, I hear the member's assurance on the point of freedom of movement, and we will not oppose his motion this evening. It will certainly be very difficult for us to support it, however, particularly while Remain is the option that we demand. So, Mr Speaker, let me make it clear. The SNP wants to find a way forward. Our preferred option is to remain in the European Union. That is what Scotland voted for. And as long as that is an option, we will vote for it. But we have always said that if it proves not to be possible, we will seek compromise to protect Scotland's interests. We have set out previously what compromise is for us. And remember that would be compromise from a position where the country we represent did not vote for Brexit and our national parliament is opposed to Brexit. That compromise, endorsed by the Scottish Parliament, is Scotland's place in Europe, published way back in December 2016, ignored by the UK Government, and proposing full membership of the European single market and the customs union. But that position is not encapsulated yet in any of the proposals brought forward tonight. Our compromise requires full acceptance of freedom of movement. It requires respect for the position of the Scottish Parliament and for devolution as a whole. We put that compromise time and time again for over 2 years, but it's continually been ignored. Whilst in principle we know that some honourable members agree with us, we must be clear there is more work to be done for those on the Labour and the Tory benches to get to a position that we could accept, if we cannot put this matter back to the people or choose to remain in the EU. However, when I look at the order paper, I can see that there is space to compromise. There is a better way out of this mess. On Saturday, over 1 million people marched to ask that they get the chance to vote on their future within the European Union. Mr Speaker, I was proud to stand with them and alongside our First Minister. People across from all parts of the United Kingdom now know the price that will be paid for Brexit, economic disaster, and they want another say. Members across this House may feel some discomfort, some unease about a second EU referendum. But I say to all of you, what is more respectful to the electorate when this place has repeatedly failed than giving them back control? There is nothing to fear. The Prime Minister does not have support for her deal. This House has not found a solution. So let us do the right thing and end the stalemate by letting the people decide. I urge members to join with the SNP to compromise at this critical hour and to vote for a motion to hold a second EU referendum. Mr Speaker, in conclusion, the UK Government is flogging a dead horse, running down the clock, hoping that the squeeze of time will bring support for the Prime Minister's devastating deal. We can end this today. We can take back control and stop the Prime Minister. We can show